which is not right. You need a waypoint that will fit inside the track and that the ship can fly through without it being overly massive, unnecessarily large. So I was saying we would find out if I will fix that problem here. And will I? What are the chances? Probably not, knowing me. Because, you know, I like to leave problems for myself to fix further down the line, because where's the fun if you don't have anything else to go back and fix? So I'm exporting them both together, so obviously I did not fix that. So whoever bet on me to do it, you lose. You all owe me €20. Or more. So I'm going to bring these into Unity, and we're going to see if I can fix them in Unity instead of doing it here. It doesn't really matter where you do it, I guess, as long as you actually get it done. Exporting as an FBX, yeah. For Unity from 3ds Max or any modeling software, FBXs or OBJs would be good and can be used to bring objects into Unity for use as prefabs or, you know, props, whatever you need. Prefabs are basically just props that you use over and over again in multiple scenes. So I'm trying to scale the track, and it is scaling the waypoint as well. That is not what I want. Cannot select that on its own. This is what happens when you export things as the same thing. Now, I should be able to do it here. I just select the waypoint on its own. Nope, just screw it. Don't want to do it, delete it. When in doubt, delete. Don't doubt, never doubt, just delete. Oh, there goes my mic. Whoa. Oh no. It's fine, it still works, don't worry about it, it's all fine. So yes, I have a lovely track that is the wrong way around, so rotate 90 degrees, perfect, put it into place, perfect-ish. It fits over the ship, that's grand. It doesn't matter that it's purple because it's going to be invisible, so you're not going to see it, so that's why I'm not worrying about that right now. That's just I don't have a material on it, so it's appearing quite strange. But you know what? You shouldn't judge by appearances, they can be deceiving. It's still a valid, good object that I worked hard on. It means a lot to me, you know. Even though I do delete it a few times. But I always bring it back, you know. So, trying to find the player, jerking all around the place, like a jerk. Complete jerk off. If you select an object in Unity and hit F, you will zoom to it, so you don't need to do all that, try and move around and find it in the scene yourself. That's just pro tip there for you. F for find the fucking thing. So as you can see, when I fly around, I'm trying to get a little message to pop up down here in the console along the bottom, so that when you leave the track, it will say disqualified. So that I can set that up in code to do something like either, you know, have a message pop up that says, you know, going out of bounds, please return to the track, or even doing something just like, you know, end the game if you go off away from the track, so that people can't just fly off wherever they want. Because that would not be good. Because they could go on forever and ever and never find themselves again. A journey of self-discovery where they never find each other or themselves. Be sad. So, I believe I said it in the last video that I should be using on-trigger exit instead of on-trigger enter. Because on-trigger enter only happens when you enter a trigger, and in this, because I'm starting on the inside of it, I wanted the message to pop up when I leave. So it would be on-trigger exit. But I know that now. Then I obviously either didn't know it or I typed the wrong thing. Which again, is entirely possible. blame autocorrect, because Visual Studios does have an auto completion function, so it will kind of guess what you're trying to type, which makes it handy when you're learning it, because you can see what code you can use, and errors will pop up if you try and use the wrong thing with the wrong thing, because two wrong things don't go together because they're wrong. What you need is a right thing and a right thing. Two wrongs don't make it right. Two rights, that's how you do it. Two or more. On trigger exit. So I figured it out. Go me. I actually thought that would take me a lot longer to cop. So, now will that work? That is the question. I mean, theoretically it should. I'm getting an error. So, I've flown out. It's not working. Now, why would that be? A non-convex mesh collider with non-kinematic rigid body is no longer supported in Unity 5. Yes, so Unity updates a lot, which is brilliant, because when they update, they usually fix bugs or issues with crashing and that kind of thing, but they also bring out a lot of new functionalities that you can use. Excuse me, which is brilliant. I've spoken before about using from Unity 2019, I believe, onwards, or one of the late 2018 ones. They brought in the high definition render pipeline and the lightweight render pipeline, and I think a universal render pipeline or a custom render pipeline or something. And with those, you got to use shader graph and visual effects graph. The visual effects graph is what I am trying to learn for particles, which is just brilliant. I highly recommend people, because you can make amazing effects with that don't tank your computer, because it's GPU based, not CPU based. But because they keep updating stuff, some of the older stuff sometimes goes out of fashion and stops working. So like that error message is saying it doesn't work with Unity 5 up. So you do get that kind of thing where you've learned how to do something in a previous version of Unity, and then you update to the next version and suddenly that doesn't work anymore. They have a whole new way of doing the exact same thing that you then have to learn again, which is keeps you on your toes, I guess. You don't want to get lax and go, oh, I know everything, I don't need to keep learning. No, you do. So I've flown outside of the track area, and you can see the disqualified message comes up, so that works. All that was fixed just by clicking one little tick box. Convex, because Unity said so. I don't know why it doesn't like using mesh colliders with non-kinematic rigid bodies that aren't convex. I don't understand half of those words. So, if anybody does know, please let me know. Comment. Or even comment. I could look it up, I guess. Google knows everything. You don't ask questions anymore, really, of other people. You don't try and learn. You just Google everything. You just go, hey, Google, and your phone will answer your phone. Stop. Nope. Your phone will actually listen.
Take your time.
Okay. See? Even when I try to stop it. What if you do? Hey, Google. Hey, Google. Do not disturb.
Turning.
There we go. I don't know. Didn't know that would work. Don't know how to turn it off again. I wonder if you can use Hey Google when it's in Do Not Disturb mode. I'll find out later, I guess. So now we're back in 3D Studio Max. Back with my needlessly complicated track. And it looks like now I'm probably going to size the waypoints properly, which I should have done before. But I didn't. I was saying, and I keep saying, that I could have just used an invisible box and a box collider, so that when you fly outside the box, you get that disqualified message and you don't need it to be a certain shape. You can just place the waypoints wherever you want. But what I wanted was to have this kind of to have areas where the rings were, so like here, but to stop people just from flying from this side to the other side, I'd want like a boundary that matched, like that went in a direction, so that you couldn't just start here and go whoa to the end. You'd have to go around, and you can't do that with a box collider. So there is a method to my madness of doing an overly complicated track in 3D modeling to bring into Unity to make a racing game, spacing racing. But at the end of the day, I think it still wasn't necessary, because I think we'll get into, you can cheat in the finished game. In that way, you can literally just fly from the start, turn around, and go to the end, and win the game that way. Which was great when I was testing it, because if I just wanted to test the windscreen or that kind of thing, I didn't have to fly around the whole race. But I didn't fix it, because I was relying on the honesty of the player and going, who would cheat? And my teacher immediately, one of the first things he said to me was, you can cheat and just turn around and go to the final ring and win. And I was like, well, that just shows that you're a cheater. Didn't dock me marks for it, because that wasn't part of the assignment to make a game that you couldn't cheat in. That was these are all just first year prototypes. They are just basic coding is, I think, more what we were getting graded on, of getting a ship that moves and AI that follows or races itself. And you have to get to the finish line before the AI does. If you do, you win. If you don't, you lose. Just all that done in code, and then the game can actually look however and play however it wants. Or however you want, because as of right now in 2020, games cannot choose for themselves, although we're probably not far off of that, with AI and virtual reality combining to probably make games that play you. In Soviet Russia, a game plays you. Yeah. So I'm just placing all the waypoints within 3ds Max, because you saw before when I exported it all together, I couldn't scale it individually. It all just came out as one package. Now I could have just exported them individually instead of exporting them together, but I didn't. So I believe that what I'm doing now is just setting up the entire track with all the waypoints where I want them in 3ds Max, and then I'll just export that into Unity as one entire object, which is basically the same as exporting them separately, bringing them into Unity and doing it there. It's just, where do you want to do it? I think it might actually be slightly easier here, because with the 4 different views, I can see, it's easier to see which ones are higher and lower and where I'm placing them and where one might be out of bounds and that kind of thing. So, might have been a smarter choice to do it in 3ds Max, if I do say so myself. And we'll see how it works in Unity. We're getting to having a playable game. I have a ship that moves, and hopefully by the end of this I will have a track that ship can move around. If you go outside of that track, you will get a message that says, stop being bold. So then for the next few videos, I think all that will need to be implemented would be getting the other ships, the AI ships, to move. And I was messing around in the last video to get the rings, a particle effect system on the rings, so that they're just kind of like ring clouds, I guess you could call them, is what I had in mind, or in some way a particle effect for it, for no other reason than I wanted to use particles and do some kind of cool effect. Now I ended up with an effect. You can be the judge of whether it was cool or not. Just a smoky ring, to be honest. I got to do that, and then UI, so like main menu, a win screen, and a lose screen, and I think I put some sound effects in. So that will be. So there's still quite a lot to do. Like at this stage, it's almost a playable prototype without the computer AI characters flying with you, but you got to start somewhere, and you got to tick away at it. That's the thing. I find it very hard when I'm doing these, especially when you're starting out on a new project or a new assignment, because there's so much involved in making a game, especially when you're doing it by yourself, is that it can be quite daunting to know what to start on first or where to go when you've done that thing. I find myself jumping from one thing to another, and getting little bits done on a lot of things rather than a lot done on a little thing. So things don't get finished for quite a while, which means then I don't have a playable demo or prototype or anything to iterate upon for quite a while. So I really should organize my brain a little better and do lists of stuff and kind of get through them in a sequential order that would make sense in terms of what do I need to do now, what do I need to have for me to test the next bit. So, if you want to test a character moving, then you would need a character, but you'd also need a level for it to move around. Now, sometimes what I do is I create a test scene, which would just be like a plane. For the big project that I'm doing this year, I'm doing a third-person shooter, and I have a test scene where when I was trying to build the laser particle system, and you'll see this when I get around to that video, I had a capsule to stand in for the player in the test scene, and I had a wall. There's just a cube that I made made into a wall, and that was it. And then just a script that if I left clicked, it would fire the particle at the wall so that I could see that the particle was moving, and that when it impacted the wall, the sub-emitters would come out so they'd look like sparks. And then I brought that into the main game scene, the level. So you can do that, but even then, I needed to have the particle done, which is that was what I was working on. So I suppose I didn't need that much. But to bring it into the level, you would have to have. You can't just make test scenes and have little bits of everything working in a test scene, and then bring it into your level. But that is future me's problem. Well, it's present me's problem, but in terms of this video, it is future me's problem. So I have turned the track invisible now that I know that everything works. So this little green line, that is the trigger that if you leave that. So that's your bounding box. That's what I was looking for. So I have all these rings. Now I don't like these rings because they're just rings. And I want it to be a little bit cooler. So I'm actually... Here what I'm doing is I'm just moving through the Unity scene. So I'm not flying the ship, I'm just moving it around to check the layout of all the different rings. So the way I've laid out the track to make sure that it is, a viable track, that it makes sense, that you can go from one to the other. Which, as we saw in 3ds Max, they should all be, pretty okay. Then it goes crazy, yeah. But it's always good to double check, especially when you bring things in from another software program into Unity. Just always double check that it is what you expect it to be, because it doesn't always translate quite so well, or the way you would expect. But most of the time it's fine. So then, all these rings... Just want the ring, so I'm moving the track. I don't want to move the track. I want to move the waypoints. So there's just some tweaking to be done. Once I brought everything in, because then I'm going to have to line up the player and the enemies, the AIs. They've got to start at the start. Start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start. So, yeah, just simply line them up. And this is why having the 4 different screens in 3D modeling software is quite handy, because in Unity it can look like, oh yeah, that's about right, and then you rotate around and you're like, it was way off. it can be hard to judge because you're looking at a 2D screen and you're trying to orient things in three-dimensional space, which is quite difficult. So that looks like they're in the center of the ring. Now it doesn't really look like they're in the center of the ring. No. Is that too far across? And then scaling the rings down. Because they are pretty big compared to the ship, and they don't need to be. So you just need them big enough for 3 ships to fly through. And just all these different colliders on my ship. As I said before, those ships were downloaded from the asset store from Unity, so they weren't made by me. So I just popped them in and used them. I'm trying to find the ring. There is a ring, but it's not showing up. It's clipping out, which is quite strange. I wonder why that could be. I do know why that is, and I will fix it. But for a beginner, this is quite a good issue to run into. I'll give you a hint. It's a problem with the camera. It's not a problem with the ship. It's not a problem with the ring. It's a problem with the camera. So as long as I'm looking at anything other than the camera, I'm not looking at the right thing. There you go, yeah. Play it and see. See what happens when you fly. It's, yeah. I mean, it's rendering. It's just clipping. So think, what would make it clip in and out of view? Of course, now you've rotated yourself all over the place. You don't know where it is. Oh. The problems of game development. The stuff you gotta solve. I mean, it is strange that it just clipped in that one little area. This little box. Oh, there it doesn't clip. But I can't see any of the other rings. There's more behind it, so... So what? So do we want to take bets on how long it takes me to figure this out? I am seeing if just putting materials on things will make a difference. I don't see why it would. But I think at this stage last year, I wouldn't have had any kind of clue as to what this problem was, and I'm just clutching at straws trying to figure out any kind of way to fix it. And basically, whenever you run into problems in game design, and you will run into problems, often, you just gotta try everything. And just go through a list. If that, it's breaking down what the problem is. So you try everything you can think of until you figure out what the problem is. So, well, I've made it so that I can crash into it. So that's good. That's good for what they are now. Right now they're metal rings. They haven't quite advanced to being a particle system. So I'm going to do that for all of them, one would assume. Whoa, don't know what that was. I want to make them thicker. Not necessary, really. But I guess they are quite thin for a space ring. Is it just me, or are these making anyone else think of Stargate? I miss that show. Maybe with all these reboots and stuff coming through, they'll make a new Stargate, which would be pretty cool. You know, Stargate O'Neill, like Star Trek Picard. Because we all know General O'Neill was the best. Or Colonel O'Neill if you're, the early seasons. Oh, goody. Now we're getting into the particle effects. So this is where things get fun, at least for me. They don't always get fun for other people. Just checking the phone, as you do. So, yeah, I want these to become just a ring of particles that you fly through. That's it. Just a ring of particles. Nothing complicated. I'm not even seeing any particles there. So I don't know where this particle system is. Well, I mean, it's on the object, so it's on that waypoint. But I don't see it. Oh, wait. I can kind of see them. There they are. So I need to act. Oh, yeah, and a little bit there. A little bit of fuzziness there. Okay. So I want them to be bigger. Which, take a guess. If I want to change the size of them, which of these would I modify? Would it be this one? Start size? I think it would. Or you could do what I do and just bump up the maximum number of particles, which is not going to do anything, really. But I want it to be a donut. Well done. Now this donut is coming. It looks like... Oh, there we go. It's going to make it a big donut. And again, for somebody who's never used the particle system, I think never. One of the Udemy courses I got before I went to college no, it didn't actually. It didn't. It was a 2D game. I thought it used particles because it was a 2D Space Invaders type game, and I thought it used particles for the thrusters of the ship and the explosions, but I think it actually used a animated sprites sheet. So this would have been my first time really playing around with the particle system. And considering that, what I end up with is not terrible by any means. Certainly not. I wouldn't put it in a game that I was planning on releasing right now. But for the for what it was, for the assignment and for the time that I had to do it, because these were short projects that had to be done quite quickly. It wasn't like the graveyard where I had 2 months 3D modeling. I had maybe 2 weeks to do this. And for this module, I think we ended up having to do 3 different games. We had about 2 weeks for each of them, so as well as the 2 months for the 3D modeling, and then 2 months for the other 3D modeling assignment, which was the kitchen and the den, which I don't have a video of. So we're starting to get the idea here. We're getting a donut, we're getting some particles. So you can get the gist of just what I want to. And at this stage I might be toying with the idea of just having the keeping the metal ring and having the... Oh, nope, never mind, I'm not. Metal ring gone. Just have the particle ring. tighten it up a little bit. And I basically then, once I have this, and I was saying this in one of the previous videos, I think I was saying it for 3D modeling. So in the graveyard video, but it actually goes for game design as well. If you have something that you can reuse, then just bloody well reuse it. Like, I'm not going to go into each of these rings and try and replicate exactly the values that I have, or go back and forth and copy the values in. I'm just going to copy the whole component, if I'm smart, and put it onto the objects. Because why make more work for yourself than you need? I mean, I've got about 10 rings, I think, memory serves, 10 to 12. I'm not going to do an individual particle system for each of them. I do change the color of the last one. I think that is the only thing that I do. Or I possibly have the first one green, the last one a different color, and all the rest are the same. I can't actually remember. But I know for the last one, you'll see when we get there. I think they were all green except for the last one. I haven't looked at this video or the game itself in quite a while. But I've kept it for my portfolio just in case, because, why not? So paste, there you go. Copy the component, paste the component values on all of the waypoints. So they should all have, and then turn off the mesh render. So now I have a track of all green gassy rings, which is a green gassy ring is something I never thought I'd say. I have 10 green gassy rings. And I can't go to the doctor because of the COVID-19 stuff, so you can't leave your house. So I just have to deal with having 10 green gassy rings. Hey, at least I got a comfy chair. So, now we have a track. So I don't know what I have left to do for the track. I should, presumably... So you're turning off the mesh collider so you can't see it. You don't want the renderer on. You should want the collider on. Yeah, you want the collider on. Because if you turn that off, then you're not going to get the collision message, the trigger message when you exit. So, I'm still having that clipping problem. That is going to be... Like, I can just imagine that annoying me at the time, because it would annoy me now. It is annoying me now just looking at it, just... It can be infuriating. Game design is an odd mix of quite relaxing and incredibly, incredibly annoying. Stress-inducing. Rage-inducing, and then elation and joy. It's quite the emotional roller coaster. I think that's kind of where I like it, because you never really know what's going to happen. A lot of fun. So what am I deleting? I deleted the track. Oh, I wanted... Yeah, okay, I'm seeing if it's the track that's causing the problem. So... It's not the track that's causing the problem. Now, the problem with doing that is I've now deleted the track. I can add it back in, but if I really wanted to. Now... So I've come to the camera. Oh, I figured out. So this is what I'm saying. Like, to figure out what the problem is, you do need to test things. So you need to turn things off, turn them back on, and do it one by one, individually test different things to see if that could be what's causing the problem. So I've gotten to the point where I'm pretty sure it's the camera causing the problem. I just don't know what about the camera is causing the problem. Now, this, I imagine... So it's not that. I think it would be the far clipping plane. so that would be this number, because that would correspond to this little box. So if you increase that number, the box comes out. And it shouldn't be clipping all this kind of stuff. That is what I'm saying now. Which I shouldn't be saying now, because if I'm wrong, it'll just prove that I've learned nothing in the last year. But if I'm right, it'll prove that I've learned something at least. So if I, no. Yeah, so you can see they're starting to appear. So I am right. So I've just either, I don't know, that seems like quite a long way for a far clipping plane. It's because I've nothing obscuring the view as well. So like in a game that you'd probably have mountains or buildings or that kind of stuff in the way, and corners, and so you are able to get closer to an object and you don't notice as much that they're just popping into view as you get in. You can see it in, like, if you ever play Grand Theft Auto 5 and you fly up as high as you can go and then parachute out, you can start to see like the trees and the buildings popping in, which you can't. There's nothing you can do about that. But yeah, that's just quite a. I don't know if it's, again, a scaling issue of I've made these things far too big. But relative to I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I've figured it out. I got it to work. I can fly around through all the rings. The ship is moving quite slowly. But thankfully I have all those little numbers in the inspector panel on the player over the side of the player. When I'm actually selected the player, that means I can change all that, all the speed and that kind of thing, without having to go back into the code, which I've spoken about before. About the arguments I have with my coding teacher about using serialized fields. They just make things handier, okay? Use them. Use them when you're developing, delete them afterwards if it's that big of a fucking deal. Like, I mean, I don't understand his issue. But he's a coder. He's not a game developer, so he would be a programmer. So he would be very much clean code, naming, get the right naming convention, stick to it, and just have clear, concise, easy to read code, and nothing in it that you don't need. Whereas I come from would come from more of a designing point of view, where, well, it's easier for me to do all this in the inspector rather than jump back and forth. So there we go. So I said I was going to change the final ring just to make a difference, to show that it is the finish line. And I wanted to make it as much like a checkered flag as I can, because, the end of the race. That is. So it's simple. Half of the particles are black, half the particles are white. Something easy. You can fly through them. So pretty cool. So that's it. I do wonder if I ever put that track back in, or do I just go with what I've been saying all along and use a box to stop people from going off track? I mean, it brings a whole new meaning to it when to that saying when you're talking about a racing game going off track. So that is the track done. Dog going mental. Yep, check. That's done. Hopefully, I start doing. The particle system was a lot quicker than I thought it would be. I didn't run into too many problems, which makes a nice change, because particle systems can be quite finicky. Like the stuff that I'm doing now, if you want to get it, you'd be surprised that if you change a value by 0.1, sometimes even less, so it can be 0.01, it just throws everything off, which is insane. So it can take quite a lot of work to get particles working. Not working, but looking the way you want them to look. So I've selected the debris. Okay. There is a possibility that this is where I do something really stupid. Because now I've deleted the track, which is fine. But I no longer have a way of stopping people from flying across, which is what I wanted, which is why I did that track. So I think I'm going to try and make a debris field. I might have mentioned the fact that I do this in one of the first 2 videos. And I end up with hundreds of these debris objects. Too many. Like, I mean, for a small, it wouldn't, no, it was a stupid idea. And it took ages because I was duplicating them, and then I was trying to make a wall basically around the track and in the middle of it so that you'd have to fly. And this is how I was doing it. Like, now I do at some stage just select a group of them and then duplicate that group and then increase the selection of a group and duplicate the bigger selection to get so that I'm not just duplicating one at a time and hand placing it. But yeah, my God, it's like, I'm not going to torture you all with me individually placing. So we're going to scrub through this just to speed it up a little bit. So you can see there's a lot more there. Look at these ship debris coming here. Like, and this is just me trying to get it into the middle so that you can't fly through from the start to the finish line. So we're going to just like, so you can see I'm trying to make walls. There's a wall in the middle, then I want a wall at this edge so that you fly. You gotta fly, keep to the track. And what I end up with is just, oh my God. I haven't seen this in so long. It is, like, it's a debris field. I mean, it is what it is. But, like, where are we at here? Debris number 365, and that's just for ship debris 4. I've got like 355 ship debris. Whoa, I just keep doing it. 112 for ship debris 9. Oh, whoa. Where'd that go? Where did that go? I thought I saw something there. Just where? Oh, maybe I was wrong. No. Is my head blocking this? Why did I turn off my... there we go. If you look down... Stop it. Can you see now? Just... If you look, you can see ship debris here. So keep your eye there. 2162. 2162, 2163 for ship debris. That is how much. And that is just for the ones with those names. So like ship debris 4, 2161, 2160, 2150. Like, it is. You can see, like, I think there was a point where I tried to just drag select them all, and you can see my computer just chugging along. Trying to get that done. It is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, this is how you learn. You can't have 3,000 objects in a scene without your computer going, no thanks. And at least I tried it, because it wasn't a bad idea to have that. There must be a way to do it that, I mean, if you had it as an asteroid field, and you just had spheres that were very low poly, but even still, you'd be talking a couple of thousand of them. You could also make them bigger. So there would be ways through it. So we're just going to scroll through this, see what, like, it's just, where are we up to? 2,400. Flippin' heck. I will say this for it, though. It looks cool. Like, having that much debris in it, it looks Really cool. Let's just see the amount of it. So I've just popped it all away in an empty game object just so I can see it. Yeah, turn it off so that I can actually. It doesn't seem to matter. And then I gotta turn it back on. See, and the reason I have to do that is because I can't move while I'm while it's all turned on. And you can see the frames are. It's just there's too much. Also, it's not going down low enough, so you could just fly under the debris field. So really what I would have had to do is have the debris coming along the top here and the bottom here and basically create a debris cube. I guess I could have just had pictures of debris and then create a little box with pictures on it, like a billboard that looked like it, and you could just fly into that. But no, having that much debris it's not going to work. But I still maintain it looks pretty cool. Where are we going? It's saying I'm getting 342 frames per second. But that's got to be a lie. Because it's not moving like it's at 380 frames per second. So I don't know how that's working. Although if it's true and if the problem is something else and not the I'm quite impressed that my computer could handle this with 100 frames per second. But I just don't think it worked. Well, I mean, obviously it didn't work because I chose to get rid of it. And why would I do that if it worked? Because, I'd never get rid of something that works. So just making sure you can't fly through the debris field. You can't. Then you can fly through your end gate. And at some stage that will win the game. And that is basically, I don't do anything else here. Do I? No, I don't. Go back to 3ds Max and do nothing yet. So that's where we're going to leave it at that. We will find out what I do in the next one. Hopefully I'll get the other enemy, the AI ships, moving pretty quickly. There's not much left to do, and then a win scene and a main menu and that kind of stuff. So if you like the video, hit the like button. Consider sharing with people that you think might be interested in the content, and subscribe if you wish to keep up to date with what I'm doing. So, yeah, perfect. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.